to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Farooq Ghauri, Managing Director at Netsol for Australia. I think I got that right. Probably just words in a different angle, but I think it came out right. I think it came out right. It's good seeing your face as always, Farooq.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Sure. I was just at your house. It was almost a month, not even a month ago. It was
not
fantastic. So it's almost like I just saw you.
Absolutely.
Farooq, for those people who might not be familiar with you, you just kind of introduce yourself and I guess your career, not only in software, but in this global equipment finance industry. And just as a caveat, I had Hugh Swandell from Meridian OneCap on here, but outside of that, the majority of everyone has been local here in North America. Well, I guess everyone's been in North America. So this is my first interview. I mean, it's tomorrow where you're at, which is crazy.
Yeah, we're across the international date line. But sure, Jesse, I'll start with a little bit about myself. Started off in the industry maybe 18 years ago on the business analysis side, wholesale finance specifically. And at that time, China was going through these new regulations where they were just allowing loans for cars and leases for equipment and assets. So I was with Netsol at the time, and I'll introduce Netsol in a second. But got an opportunity in China. I worked with some of the top Italian auto manufacturers, Japanese equipment manufacturers on the wholesale side. A lot of work with Accenture and EY and all of the system integrators that are out there. And at that point, Netsol acquired MiQ Systems. So during that course, I moved to the San Francisco office, which is where I met you for the first time just a few years ago, maybe 15, maybe 12. Yeah. So then moving stateside, worked with all of the partners over here, was managing from Canada all the way down to Brazil. So a lot of travel to South America as well. I, at that point, was doing both wholesale finance, retail finance, all kinds of assets, equipments. I know there's this interesting story of a customer that actually put a cow on the system on a cost per use model, a cost per use lease, and they were actually 10,000 cows.
Based on the pulse?
I mean, based on how much milk they're producing and so on, right? So seen a lot of very, very interesting things, Jesse, over the time. Worked with maybe 100 odd top tier companies. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what I've done. Recently, about 4 years ago, I was given an opportunity to head Australia, and I took that opportunity, and very, very interesting here. And I'll give you a little bit of info on the move. But just quickly on Netsol, we've been around since 1972 with the acquisition of MiQ Systems. I'm just one of those companies that took paper contracts to your AS400 supercomputers, and now we're taking those same contracts to the cloud, digital, and so many other methods. So basically, a solution provider. We don't do financing ourselves. We have no assets finance or anything like that, but purely on the solution side. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded.
No, it's perfectly fine. So I can't finance a cow through Netsol.
Yes, you can now. We tested it, and actually it did the job. It was treated like an equipment.
That's awesome. I could just imagine that request, and as a business development person myself, you're like, that seems reasonable.
And we don't say no. We listen to it. We have to accommodate a lot of interesting things, culturally, globally. I mean, yeah.
I'm sure that probably wasn't Doug that you went to that challenge with, but I could picture him being like, Farooq, what are you doing, man? Like, come on. Like,
I believe Rose may have been part of the team. Yeah, I can't remember if Doug was in his hiatus or he was with Netsol at the time, but yes, it was interesting.
That's awesome. So, the product that you guys had, it was legacy. Well, the MiQ was lease pack, right? In the Americas, and then now you have Ascent, which I've seen. It's a really slick product. Um, I'm not sure if you want to talk about that at all,
No,
Farouk.
no, no, absolutely. Thank you for that question. Yeah, Ascend is our latest and greatest, and Jesse is really a coming together of all of our. We had legacy systems in Europe, Americas, and Asia Pac. Then we had our next gen systems. We had our digital compatible systems. So we really brought in all that functionality in a framework that we feel is future proof. We're using Microsoft .NET. We're using a technology now that we feel would not get obsolete. The problems we had with leaseback and in our other generations. And yeah, it's end to end originations, contract management, book, bill, collect, as we used to say in the leaseback days, and then wholesale as well. A lot of digital stuff, a lot of AI, a lot of smart data stuff. So yeah, in a nutshell, pretty much same thing. I mean, it still will manage your books, but just a new and more efficient way to do it.
And plus, from a mobile app perspective, I haven't seen any other software providers with that type of technology, and you've had it for quite a while. So
yeah, when iPhone came out, I remember in 2008, 2009, our innovation R&D group just needed to really deal with the changes. And it's not a change for us, it's how our customers interact with them. Because it's more an auto manufacturer or a top tier equipment manufacturer with their account portals and their online forms and whatnot. So we started working in that space, Jesse, in 2010. So 2 years of research. We were making games and apps. But in 2013, we actually did a whole country of dealerships on a mobile app, and all of the originations starting off a mobile app. And now, as you know, we have a whole bunch of really useful little robots, little products that fit into the big end-to-end platform we have.
how frustrating is it dealing with the app stores and all of their upgrades and everything else?
It's a lot tougher on the iOS side, to be honest. On the Android side, there's a lot of direct, even I think Huawei, one of the bigger telecoms, they bypass the Android store and you download their apps from a website. So in most of our cases, we're sending out a link with an email to all the customers and all the dealers, brokers, or so on. And in the latest case, we're doing it to consumers as well. So that's how we manage.
Well, perfect. Yeah, I just know it's just one of those things where it's like, we can't have an app. Because I always ask the question, right? Where it's like, I want an app. Well, you can't have an app. Why don't you make it browser based? Well, what browser can it work with? Web based or whatever. And it's like,
no, it's a joke and a nightmare all put together.
It's a good way of putting it. So, being in Asia, then coming to the US, and then going to Asia plus, what is the, I guess there's a few questions I have with that. Like, what is your favorite place in the world so far that you've had the fortune of living, Farouk?
Jesse, I've been very
Kind of loaded,
blessed.
kind of a loaded question, but anyhow.
No, it's a great question because I don't know if you know this, but I've been to over 40 countries in my travels, and this is from 2 weeks to 6 months, depending on what we were doing there. And my all-time favorite, and you're gonna laugh at this, is San Francisco. I'm not gonna lie. Just the weather, the food, the culture, the people, just everything together. LA is a close second. Vegas is also one of my favorite places. But China, I've been to a lot of places. Language was very difficult, so I couldn't really integrate as well. I integrated in other places. Similarly, Brazil, Mexico, they were fun places. A lot of good food, a lot of good experiences. But yeah, just something about San Francisco. Just I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I remember your office when you guys opened that there, like the view that you had of the
Oh my
bay, and I think when that opened up, the Blue Angels were doing like their training, and it's like, how'd you guys do this? Like, what did you tell you that? And it was just,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. Unfortunately, since you guys haven't had your user groups there, I haven't been back. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, COVID and stuff has been COVID affected, right? But yes, we still have these awesome user groups, and San Francisco was the location that we preferred.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure. So, moving to Australia. So, what did the missus say when you were just like, by the way, honey, we're
Uh,
going to Australia?
not not happy, Jesse. Not happy at all. And I think obviously the family was very well established there. And it's obviously hard. I have a 14-year-old. At that time, she was 9, 10. So it was difficult for her as well. But to be honest, from a move perspective and the opportunity that I've gotten, it's a positive. From a family perspective and the friends and the life that we had, obviously negative. We ended up spending 12 years total in between San Francisco and LA. That's how much time we spent there. So that's all my daughters know, and all they have known. So no, it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun. But now they see a lot more of me. As you know, the U.S. market. I was flying to Canada, flying to Brazil, flying over here. I would come home and say, honey, can you pack another suitcase? I need to drop 20 clothes and take a fresh suitcase out. This 5, 6 birthdays, my daughter's birthdays, anniversaries. I've attended all birthdays now, all anniversaries. It is Australia is a little bit slower paced. Asian market is a little bit slower paced. Obviously, US is a giant on its own. So yeah, it's been good now over time.
So you get to make up all that time. I guess the magical question is, does your family want you home as much as you're home now? So you don't
I
you don't
think
you don't you don't you don't you don't you don't have to answer that question. It was more
no,
of
I
just
will. I
a
will
laugh.
answer. I will answer that question. So when my wife watches this video, she hears it. I think they're sick of me now. I think, especially with COVID, Jesse, Australia had a very severe lockdown. For a year and a half, we could not go more than 5 kilometers from our house, which is your local grocery store. Haircuts was not a critical service anymore, so I didn't get a haircut for 12, 14 months. My wife cut my hair, and that turned into a
I was
big.
gonna say, did you grow it long or did
No,
she
it
cut it?
was it was all over. It was
Just a
I have
bush? Yeah, like
pictures.
I turned into like a tennis ball when I
It's
cut
a
my hair.
yeah, it's a fluff. It's a fluff ball. But yeah, we were pretty severely locked in, and that time kids are not going to school. I'm in my home office. Everybody is in this space. So yeah, they're pretty sick of me now. They want me to yeah, go back traveling and do what I do.
Well, and especially for your daughter at that time, if all she knows is like California, and then so welcome to Australia, it's going to be beautiful, and then by the way, you can't leave the house, like
Oh
you're
my
here.
goodness.
It's like welcome to our country. Now you can't leave your house.
We were very lucky, Jesse, because we were staying in an area in LA, all blue ribbon schools, and my daughter, all A student. But Australia even spells certain basic words differently, right? So her first spelling bee, her first experience in school, and she flunked, and she's like, Dad, I've never failed. Where have you brought me? They can't spell color correct. They can't spell this correct. So now she's adjusted very, very well. But yes, it was an adjustment even on the basic. How do we create words and stuff?
From a travel perspective, so you have Australia, what is it, Japan,
Uh-huh.
and what is the other countries that you have?
Thailand, China,
Okay,
so yeah, Netsol is present actively about 30 countries right now.
30
And
countries. Okay.
I work now from China or under China. We have a specialist local team there due to the language. So from Japan all the way down to New Zealand, Australia. So obviously a lot less travel than the US.
No, it's just more of a complication to get from point A to point B.
Absolutely, a lot more languages, a lot more stopovers, flying through unknown locations. Yes.
But some great food though. I mean, the food in those countries. Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
Absolutely. I think 90% of my experiences have been very, very good. But I will not name the countries I see, but I was served a cat. I was served certain animals that we should not be eating, and I have 2 cats at home. So having said that, yes, overall it's been very, very good, but some shocking stuff.
Yeah, Brooke's like, I want to go over there. I'm like, eh,
Yeah,
eh.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not, like I said, out of respect, I've had a great time in the country, so I won't name
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah.
yes,
That's fun.
I've never had something like that in the States or Europe or Australia.
Well,
except a
well,
kangaroo.
that you know of. I mean,
That I know of.
there's a lot of Asian places in the U.S. that are conveniently housed in a strip mall next to a veterinary clinic. So not
Questionable meat.
insinuating anything, but you sit there and it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, not fair.
All right, sorry,
No,
going down here.
this is what
But
happens when we talk, Jesse. This
try to keep it as PG as possible.
absolutely.
But overall, just I mean, thank you again for having Brooke and I over. We got to meet the family and check out the new digs. Beautiful house, man. I was laughing because you're like, oh, don't worry, we'll send an Uber. And then we got in the car and it's like, where are we going?
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where is this place? What's going on here? So even so you have like an hour commute to then have the privilege of flying.
Correct.
for all that stuff.
In LA, we were in Oak Park near Calabasas. 40 minutes. It should have been with no traffic. 405 and 101. It never took me less than 2 hours and 1.5 hours. So I was in a country where there was a 7-8 day traffic jam. I'm not kidding. We couldn't take a taxi home. I had to walk the 4 or 5 miles to my hotel because. So when I look at what I've seen and I look at it's an hour 10 minutes and finding parking and whatnot doesn't bother me, mate. Yeah.
So I guess being the fact that you've sold software solutions throughout the world, like commonalities, differences, like I fortunately have only sold to, I mean, I've worked on some other countries, but I've never really sold in different markets. Any thoughts on that, Farooq?
Absolutely. There are some I would say early day rules, like some countries have just gotten into loans and leases, and up to 10, 15, 20 years ago, they weren't even in it. And those countries have rules that I shake my head. And I'll give you a couple of examples. They'll have a separate interest rate for bordering towns next to like the border, and inner towns will have a separate interest rate. And I'm like, why? Why? It's like 18% when you're in a border town versus 12 when you're in an inner town. So there are these certain rules that make no sense, or maybe there's some logic behind there. So there's a lot of differences, a lot of localization. One of the things that Netsol and we specialize in is, hey, we got to work within this country. And I remember China in the early days had these L-shaped invoices. These are legal invoices that are government authorized, and they were L-shaped. So you had to even comply on how you're printing stuff out, and a printer that would be able to print on an L-shaped piece of paper. So there is, it's all over the board. Obviously, everybody wants to make money. The end objective is, hey, how much can you save? How much can we make? And that's where we're able to show these great stats of, hey, this is what you were spending on personnel and systems, and this is what your portfolio was. Post our system or post any system, this is where you are right now, right? So there's a great matrix. And an example I give while selling is, we had one customer, 400 accountants managing about 600 dealers, right? After system installed, there were 7 accountants managing 600 dealers. That's just phenomenal, right? And then those accountants, focus on other areas where they can generate revenue or do other things, right? So having said that, there's certain things that we see immediately. All customers think they're unique. Everybody feels, hey, our way of doing things is just nobody else does it this way. And we see it, yes, they are unique things, but it's all book, bill, collect. It's all, sure. the same, pretty much the same mindset. And it's proven in reports, right? It's when you get to the reporting side, they all want to see the same thing and the same KPIs and metrics and so on. So but one thing, Jesse, I do want to talk about at this stage, and this is one of our biggest commonalities, right? I feel like I'm change management. I feel like I'm in psychology, and I'm not just dealing with selling a system, but I'm dealing with this whole anxiety of the emotionalness of change, the bias of change, then the process difficulties and whatnot. And as human beings, you and I, we both know we've been changing since day one. we started talking, started walking, started running,
Yeah.
changed, our voice changed, got married or not, had a partner, had children. So change is one constant we've always been dealing with, but when we face it, we lose our mind. I don't, so a lot of a lot of things, and this is common throughout the world, whether I'm in China or Brazil or Australia, that part of human nature, even though we should be good at it now, right? But yeah, it's. I hope that answers the question.
Oh no, it perfectly does. I can just imagine as, software, software. I guess I'll just leave it at that. Let alone, it's like if this jurisdiction has this tax, the bordering town has this tax. As you go back with these requirements, when you find these things out, like, are people looking at you like, you nuts? Like, it's like, because if you can't streamline certain things, or you get too custom when it comes to certain things, it's just a recipe for not a
Agreed.
successful implementation. Because how do you upgrade? How do you enhance?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So Jesse, where we take the position of trusted advisor, like we are very vocal and loud. At the end of the day, we gotta listen to the customer. And there's been many examples of this where, hey, we've pushed back strongly. Customers like, no, I want it, and I'll give you one example. A customer wanted when you fired an employee, when you let an employee go, they have an HR system. I believe it was SAP's HR module. We want a notice to go to the leasing system or the loan system that this user has been let go and now revoke the rights and push back permissions and whatnot. Now, hey, we can build anything and we can make it, right, and we'll charge you whatever it costs us to make it. But now you've connected another dependency on another system, and now when you make a change, I got to see the impact. I got to see, hey, how will my change now impact this SAP system, which we can't touch and we can't do anything about, right? So yeah, it's I don't know what to tell you, but yes, at the end of the day, we're always the smaller fish. We're Netsol. We're not a big company. All we do is asset finance. We're dealing with $17 trillion of sales. Like some of the portfolios, Jesse, are ginormous, right? So we have to listen to them. Yes, the bigger they are, the slower they are. That the bigger the bank is, the more red tape, the more approval times take, and we have to deal with that. One of my biggest selling, we got to make sure that everybody is on board. The users need to be on board. IT needs to be on board. Management, procurement, and CFO accounting group. Anyone says no, there's no project. It's not going to happen. So it's a lot of people management, change management, wife counseling, marriage counseling. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like I'm a counselor sometimes.
You're just like, come on, man, I got my own issues. I don't need yours too. But throwing them at me. No, that's great though. No, but like, to your point though, what is it with software? Anything can be done with time and money, but at some point you have to sit there and ask the question where it's like, why? Like, what is this really going to get? Because this is where it's nice to get that custom revenue. It's like, well, this is what it's going to lead to in 5 years, and then you're going to be angry because you fix this one thing, and what is it with software? You fix one thing, two things break.
Absolutely.
you fix those two things, and then it's just the nature of it. Because especially in asset finance, everyone does things differently, and sometimes as a trusted advisor, you have to be like, just stop.
Pull the scope back, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear, hey, we're giving you money, we're paying you. We gotta, it's one of those things. Excuse me. That we deal with. Yep.
Oh, I was selling software for 10 years. That was my biggest frustration, where it's like, and then finally you come to the reality where it's like, no, this is just not going to work. And as much as you never want to fire a customer, sometimes you have to draw that line where it's like, look, this is going to go down this hole of proverbial suck. Can we not do this, please? Thank you.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I think we have this mindset of leave no customer behind, leave no client behind, and and it's fair. It's
fair. It's good. It's good. So from a mileage perspective, are you getting more miles now on airplanes, even though you're traveling less, just based on the distances you have to go?
It's interesting. I was literally just a million miles on United and American and Delta when I was there. Over here, COVID, I lost everything. I went from platinum status to zero. And that was very interesting to restart. But yeah, it took me maybe 3 months to build myself up to gold. Yeah, you're at the distance no longer. There's a lot of hops in the middle. So that absolutely helps out. And you get more points, obviously. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I see you on Facebook, and it's like, why are you going there to go over there? And it's just
I had these 4 hops just to get to one place. I mean, I can't even tell you, man. I mean, the US was similar. You had these puddle jumps sometimes. Getting closer was harder. Getting to let's say Denver or Colorado from LA was maybe I had to go to Texas and come back. So yeah, you've done it. You've done those.
Oh, absolutely. They're like, well, why are you flying to Newark to go to Jacksonville? I get more miles if I go up that way and go back down.
Yeah, it's quicker. And I get there quicker.
That's awesome, Farooq. I ask everyone who comes on here to give me a little fun fact about themselves. Anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot of fun facts. I'll share two if I'm allowed.
Sure.
One, I don't know if this is fun, Jesse, but I actually in a project in Mexico, Mexicali, had to cross the Tijuana Mexicali border, and that was an experience. I mean, I don't know if you've seen those border shows where they. They've got people trying to get in illegally, drugs and money, bodies going that way. So that was an interesting experience. For 4 years, I would drive either from San Francisco or from LA over the border, crossing in either Calexico, it's right next to Yuma on the Arizona side. The Tijuana border was a lot more headache because of the extra taking you would do. But yeah, that was very interesting, and taking a bunch of Netsol team members across the border, getting them back across. That was very, very interesting experience. And anybody that you talk to at Netsol, and I think you've spoken to Peter Minchell from Netsol in your previous Fireside. I believe he's done that border crossing, and that's one fun thing.
Is it always a crapshoot where it's like, what are they gonna like? Are they gonna let me go? What are they gonna stop me for? What questions are they gonna ask?
I mean, yeah, it's not just the legitimate people, because you're in a line with 1,000 cars. You're literally coming into Mexico. It's open, like the gates open. You drive in, you go to your hotel. Driving back into the States, you're in this line of 1,000 cars. A lot of border people will cross the border, go to school or go to work. So they live in Mexicali or Tijuana, but the jobs or their schools are over the border. So obviously cheaper living, better schools and whatnot. So then you would see students, you would see all kinds of people, and that absolutely could take half an hour, could take 2 hours. I have been, obviously, when you get selected, dogs come out, smell the car, and do this, and you're just sitting there, you're waiting for them to do their thing. And I've been through this just maybe 200 times, and obviously funny stories every time. I know this one time we would take groceries to the team in Mexico, some meats and some kosher stuff and whatnot. And the border guys would have the best time asking me, why are you taking meat? And then obviously they're thinking there's money in the meat, or there's something else in the meat, so it goes through this extra process. But after the first year, all of the border guys started understanding that, hey, there's a project there, and these guys come in with these kind of supplies, and they became a little bit more understanding. And because they could tell how many times I've been through the border. They could tell this is my 40th time in 2 years. And then the second fun fact that I'll talk about quickly is that I'm actually a gamer at heart. So still playing the Doom and the Command and Conquer, the retro games, and now trying to understand this Fortnite stuff and PUBG, and play with my daughter. She's into this kind of stuff. So that's something that I do. I have a gaming setup. I think you saw my office. You saw my work setup, and then I've got this pretty advanced gaming setup.
I saw a cool piece of artwork the other day. I need to send over to you.
Absolutely.
It was online. I'm like, it was like it's all the Avengers on. I'm like, that should look perfect in that room.
Yeah. I have an Avengers collection and a Superman collection, and I enjoy these things. keeps me.
As far as Fortnite, just run. We're too old. We're too old to figure that out.
These kids
I tried to play it with my son,
Yeah.
and he sits there and I'm like, I got you. And then he builds a wall in front of me and then a staircase and then jumps over behind me and shoots me. I'm like, no. That's not realistic.
No.
There's I'm like, this makes no sense. I don't.
And just see the speed at which they build that, like it's crazy that.
Oh yeah, no, the hands-eye coordination.
I'm already old now, and I don't want to do that to my fingers. But about typing the whip down and the stuff that we proposals we've written. I digress on this one story. We were doing this massive RFP for a big German auto company in the States. Jesse, it was a 10,000 question RFP, right? So I had a team of 80. I was leading the exercise at the time, and there was this one set of questions that I'll never forget, right? And the questions were, first question was, do you shred your confidential material, right? Do you shred your documents, printouts when you're done with them? Oh, yes, we do, right? We've got so much confidential stuff that, yeah, we shred them. Second question was, do you shred the container that holds the shredded paper? I scratched my head. I'm like, some of our offices do it, not all of them do it, because we used to use disposal companies. So I said, all right, we'll start implementing this globally. The third question was, do you get a disposal company to come in to grab your, shredded documents that you shredded twice? So yeah, it's a strange world I live.
Be like, no, we just set it on fire. We take care of it the first time. We're good.
For most, the first shred was enough. All right, so okay, the first shred could be put together. The second shred, okay, now we want a disposal company. So anyways, just wanted to share my life a little bit.
Well, that sounds like a TikTok video where you're going to have the person that after the 3 shreds, they glue it back together. Be like, I'm glad it worked. And then you're going to get the fourth. Then you're going to get the 4th shred in the RFPs.
yeah. No, oh my goodness, there's another funny one. Data migration, right? You've probably experienced a lot of data migration in your days. We were migrating for this company in Latin America, and we asked where the data exists, and they're like, oh, in their head. I'm like, hold on, like, what do you mean their head? So we actually. One of our data migration sources was a brain dump off of somebody's head, so you get that data out of them into the system. So yeah.
So did you put one of those Professor X things on his head?
No. We took because he would take his emails and he would look at all the quotes and he would figure out how many proposals, how many quotes, looking at emails and stuff. So that data on that number wasn't in the system.
Nice.
So we then. Yeah. Anyways, right. So you got it. No, we did Professor X.
Sorry. So you talk about a liability for an organization. What happens if the head doesn't forget the rest of his body? Just preserve the head.
Yeah, imagine absolutely. He gets hit by a bus. What happens then, right? We are all worried about. Yeah, it's. Oh my goodness! I have stories, Jesse, so I won't.
No, it's perfect. It's perfectly fine. So I guess at the end of the day, Farooq, with all the global software providers out there, why should organizations want to do business with Netsol?
Oh, that's a great question, and I'll refer back to one of your earlier comments on. We were the first to market with digital. Monitor 100 for the last, I believe, 2 or 3 years in a row has given us the most innovative company out there because we are constantly innovating. We haven't stopped. Our current generation hasn't even come out of beta, and we're already making or thinking about a next gen and what's happening in the market. So that's one thing I'd say, Jesse. We have a massive cost benefit. We're out of Asia Pac. We've got. I know at our peak, we had 400 developers, architects, BAs, just on R&D and roadmap and stuff like that. So that's what I would say is we're constantly trying to improve and change and understand what's going on with the market. And from that perspective, right? Other than that, we've got the correct pedigree. We've got the correct customers. We've done it with pretty much from startups to your trillion-dollar portfolio companies. We've done government leasing to cow leasing. We've experienced a lot of different asset types, and that's another unique thing. Our team, Jesse, has the opportunity to work with 20, 30, 40 customers in 10 years. So they understand how a particular company or 30, 40 companies do the same thing, right? So when we're talking to a new customer, that's a lot of knowledge that they can get access to and get help to. So, I hope it answers on the twofold. Um,
No,
Obviously, I'm biased, though, right? I've been with this company for 18 years now, and great company for long-term and short-term employees. Yeah.
well, it's been a pleasure knowing you for as long as we've known each other, Farouk. It's good seeing your face twice in like 4 weeks, which is fantastic. I will not be playing Fortnite, but maybe there's some other stuff that we might be able to catch up on, and let me know who I need to request that Farouk makes an appearance at a U.S. Event. But don't tell your wife that I'm the one that's requesting it, because I don't want to feel the
No,
wrath.
no, no problem. Just on your first one, we'll do Madden. It's awesome if you're into football or baseball. They're very, very good on the games. I'm sure it's
Perfect.
our pace, right? It's stop, start, stop, start. On the second one, absolutely. I am due for a trip, Jesse. Obviously, with my time spent there and the team that's on the ground there, we do communicate a lot. It's a matter of time whether it's going to be through work or my wife finally goes, hey, let's go visit home, because in their mind, home is still where my kids are born and where
Sure.
we've lived that first part of our marriage. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, when you come home, Arizona's, I mean, it's a little farther from San Francisco than it is LA, but you have to make sure you stop by.
Absolutely, and it's easier than Mexicali, and we can drive in through Yuma.
I don't know if you and I should do that together. I don't, we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, we've survived. We've done a lot of conferences, a lot of trips, a lot of meetings, and we're still here.
That's fair. That's
A lot
perfectly
more
fair.
white though. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
mine matches my stone behind me, so we'll just leave it at that.
Awesome.
All right, Farouk. Well, it's good
Thank
seeing your face again, and we'll be talking soon, man. Thank you.
thank you very much, Jesse. Cheers. Have a great day.